We often remember the Apollo program for its triumphs, the great leaps, the footprints in the dust, the triumphant returns. But the road to the moon was paved with a tragedy that nearly ended the dream before it began. On January 27, 1967, a flash fire inside the Apollo 1 capsule took the lives of 3 of America's finest. Today on Generations Found, we aren't just looking at the disaster, we are looking at the aftermath. Using rare footage from the National Archives, we are going to walk you through that somber day that followed, the state funerals that stopped a nation, and the final resting places of the men who gave everything for the stars. The crew was a mix of seasoned legends and rising stars. Virgil, Gus Grissom, pictured here in the middle. A Mercury and Gemini veteran was set to be the first person to fly into space 3 times. Edward White II, pictured here on the left, was the first American to walk in space. A man whose grace in zero-G became an icon image of the 60s. And Roger Chaffee, the rookie of the group, a brilliant Navy lieutenant commander, finally getting his shot at the heavens. During what is called a plug-out test at Cape Kennedy, a stray spark in a pure oxygen environment turned the capsule into an inferno in seconds. The inward opening hatch, designed to stay sealed against pressure, became a death trap. The investigation that followed, which you see here in this archival footage, changed NASA forever. It led to a total redesign of the spacecraft. But while the engineers looked for answers, the families and a grieving President Johnson prepared to say goodbye. The footage that we are looking at was taken 10 days after the fire. It is very sad to think about what happened that day when you see this footage. The charred ceiling, the extinguishers surrounding the capsule, and the hatch that created a death trap for the astronauts. January 31st, 1967, a cold gray Tuesday in Virginia. 2 of the 3 astronauts, Gus Grissom and Roger Chaffee, were brought to Arlington National Cemetery. This wasn't just a military burial, it was a state event. President Lyndon B. Johnson stood amongst the mourners, his face etched with the weight of the loss. Beside him was the First Lady, of space, Betty Grissom, and the young family of Roger Chaffee. Watch the footage closely. You'll see the original 7 Mercury astronauts, men like Alan Shepard and John Glenn, acting as pallbearers and standing in the front lines. These weren't just colleagues, they were brothers in arms. The ceremonies were held almost simultaneously. Grissom and Chaffee were laid to rest just feet apart in Section 3. They had worked together, died together, and now they would rest together under the oaks of Arlington. We are looking at Gus Grissom's casket. The sailors holding the burial flag will fold it 13 times into a tight triangle with only the blue star fields showing, representing the 13 original colonies and honoring a veteran's service. The process requires 2 people to keep the flag taut, starting with 2 lengthwise folds, following by successive triangular folds from the stripe's end towards the Union. President Johnston hands the flag to Mrs. Grissom. Then came the casket for astronaut Chaffee. While Grissom and Chaffee were being buried in Arlington, a third ceremony was taking place at the United States Military Academy at West Point. This was for Ed White. White was a West Point graduate, class of 1952. He loved the academy, and it was his wish to return there. While the president was at Arlington, Mrs. Lady Bird Johnson attended the service at West Point to represent the White House. Ed White was buried with full military honors in the West Point Cemetery. His grave overlooks the Hudson River, a peaceful, grounded end for a man who famously said he felt so much at home in the void of space that he did not want to come back inside. A dedicated Apollo 1 monument was finally unveiled at Arlington near Grissom and Chaffee's grave to ensure their sacrifice is never overshadowed by the later success of the moon landings. Gus Grissom once said, "If we die, we want people to accept it. We are in a risky business, and we hope that if anything happens to us, it will not delay the program." It didn't delay the program, it saved it. But as we look at this footage from the archives, we remember that behind the giant leap were 3 men, 3 families, and 3 graves that hold the foundation of our journey to the stars. Thank you for joining us in the archives today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help us keep these stories alive. We invite you to watch all our videos from famous funerals to diving into the archives to find generations of history. And always please remember to be kind in everything you do, including the comments you make.